Good day everyone, it's Tim8U here, coming at you with another hardcore Nuzlocke run, this time in a randomized version of Pokemon Platinum. Let's go over quickly what a Nuzlocke is and what makes it hardcore. So, a Nuzlocke is a Pokemon challenge with two core rules. Any Pokemon of mine that faint are considered gone for the run and must be put in the PC system. And number 2, the first wild Pokemon encounter on a route or location must be the only encounter I get regardless of the outcome. Generally, people also nickname their Pokemon, but because I'm lazy and not very creative, I enlisted the power of Twitch chat at twitch.tv/Tim8U to help. Blame them for all the bad names, and of course credit them for the good ones as well. Now, what makes the challenge hardcore? The max level of my Pokemon is limited to the level of the next gym leaders or the last E4 member, then champion. More on that later. Whiteout is a full game over, even if I have Pokemon in the bank. No using in-battle items, held items are fine. And finally, the battle mode must be on set mode, which removes the "would you like to change Pokemon for a massive advantage" prompt when you feint an opposing Pokemon. For those who don't know what the randomizer entails, basically it means all wild Pokemon encounters are another Pokemon randomly selected, and all trainers will have randomly selected Pokemon as well. Also, the starting Pokemon are randomized. With our starters, we have 3 options: Torchic, Dratini, and Horsey. If I pick the Torchic, our mate Bazza will get a Dratini, and I said this so the rival will always keep their starter. This means the rival could end up with a Dragonite, but at the very least will likely have access to Dragon Rage, a very dangerous move for most of the run. I decided to go with Horsey, as Kingdra pre the introduction of Fairy is quite good, with only one weakness. I'd also enable an option to make trade evolution possible without having to trade. Barry, or Bazza if you're an Aussie like me, waits for the responsible adults to leave, and immediately challenges us to a fight with this Torchic. Considering Torchic is weak to water moves, and Horsey knows the move Bubble, this should be fine. Opening with a Bubble leaves the Torchic at just over half health, while Baz's Torchic growls, which basically equates to nothing. I'm not using a physical move. Torchic survives a second Bubble in the red, but barely scratches Horsey with a scratch. One final Bubble, and Bazza is defeated. We nicknamed the victorious Horsey Bidet. Sorry, Horsey. With Bazza out of the way, we could finally start collecting our new team members. Throughout the video, I won't go over all the encounters, just the ones we used or had an interesting experience with. On Route 202, we rolled into a sphere that I was clearly excited for because of the real-life resemblance. We named it Arson. On Route 202, we were jump-scared by a Haunter we named Midna. And at Lake Verity, we picked up a Fearow we named Pidgey, for some stupid and confusing reason. In Jubilife City, we were given a fisherman's old rod so we could get more encounters, and back home in Twin Leaf, we fished up a drowning Primeape we named Shiny 20k. Having a Ghost-type Pokemon this early is so useful for catching Pokemon that have only normal moves. On Route 219, we Bondi rescued a Gramble from the surf and named it Spike. Yeah. Real creative, I know. And on Route 218, we got a Bellsprout we named Flashlight. And finally on Route 204, we caught Eradicate named Eradicate. Remember when I said I'd only mention the Pokemon I used or were interesting, and considering none of these are particularly interesting, yeah, that's not a precursor of what's to come at all. With the team all at level 9, it was time to head towards Auberg City, and on Route 205 we ran into a youngster with an unbelievably scary Pokemon. A level 8 Gibble. I decided to hit it with a neutral Bubble while it sand attacks. I switch after missing a second Bubble, and I'll switch to my in-run commentary. Not against an Explosion Clade, Oh no! Why does it know Dragon Rage? Okay, Shiny, I don't care what it takes, you put this thing down. A low kick deals just over half its health, and luckily it doesn't use another Dragon Rage. So, another low kick finishes it off. That could have gone a lot worse. Could have gone better, but could have gone worse. I guess you could say I'm happy with how it went? Yeah, happy. That sounds right. After some leveling following that incident, we were ready to take on the rock gym leader Rourke, who's using water types. Oh yes, that's a randomizer for you. I lead with Flashlight into his Poliwag and try putting it to sleep while it water guns me. And the second one hits at least, and I start setting up growths, which is really dumb in retrospect because that doesn't actually do anything for me. Vine Whip's a physical move and growth increases special attack, so hope I don't regret that. A not so growth boosted Vine Whip just barely misses the KO but does force Rourke to use a potion. And a follow-up takes it out. Rourke then sends out a Celio, which is part ice, so a massive threat to Flashlight. I decide to risk a Sleep Powder, which misses, and Powder Snow leaves it on just 6 health, so I'm forced to swap in Shiny, who cops a Water Gun. Luckily, the Water Gun doesn't do too much, and a follow-up Karate Chop brings the Celio to just under half health. I expected Rourke to use a potion following this, so I decided to go for Low Kick. Low Kick does more damage to a heavier foe, and let's face it, Celio has the ability Thick Fat for a reason, and the Low Kick KOs. Rourke's last Pokemon is a Love Disc that uses Agility after taking more than half health from a Karate Chop. It now outspeeds, which is a threat, and luckily just hits us with Charm, but that does prevent the Karate Chop kill. A third and final chop does the trick, and with that, our first badge is in hand. Following the first badge, we had a common Nuzlocke ending fight in the form of Galactic Captain Mars, who normally has a Skuntank. The randomizer will take care of that though, right? Her first Pokemon was a Bronzor, and I led with Spike for Intimidate. Lick did almost nothing, and Imprison did even less. A critical hit Bite took down more than half its health, while a Confusion just sorta tickled Spike. One more bite and her first Pokemon was down. Up next was a Skarmory. Oh man, that thing may as well be a bunker with all that defense. I switched Spike out for Bidet after managing to paralyze it with Lick. With low special defense, the Water Gun still does pitiful damage. But for some reason, after taking a second Water Gun, the Skarmory is still using Agility. A third Water Gun triggers its Orange Berry, and a fourth brings it into the orange while it retaliates with Swift. I go for another Water Gun, putting it in the red, while Bidet is brought below half by another Swift. To avoid the critical hit kill, I switched out Bidet for Pidgey, and used Aerial Ace while Skarmory was fully paralyzed twice. One more Aerial Ace finished it off. This Skarmory luckily had terrible moves, and that Lick Paralysis prevented what could have been a very big problem. On Route 205 we met the most important encounter of the game. An Empoleon that was reluctant to join the team using all but one of our Pokeballs. We named the Empoleon God Emperor. In Eterna Forest we met Cheryl, who wants us to escort her throughout the forest. This is kind of annoying, because it forces a double battle encounter and her Pokemon could faint whatever it is that we're trying to catch. So we opt for the strategy of repels, until we ultimately run out. Okay, our encounter is a Heatran and a Riolu? Okay, be calm. The correct option is to catch the Riolu, because it's so unlikely to catch the Heatran. But chat really wants to sabotage me, so I relented and opted for the Heatran. Also, Cheryl's Minion kinda helping hands its own demise. After about 10 minutes, we finally ran out of Pokeballs. Should have gotten the Riolu. Stupid Twitch chat. Also, to add insult to injury, the following Route 205 encounter was a Suicune. We couldn't catch it because we'd already caught Empoleon, but this was Arceus laughing in our face. Anyway, it was time to take on our second gym badge, Gardenia, the rock-type trainer. Who led with a Bonsly? That's almost grass. I made some misplays here that I'll skip over, but basically I need to remember growth does nothing for Vine Whip, so I decided to switch to God Emperor to take it out with a Bubble Beam. Her next Pokemon was a Golem, and if it's not broken, don't fix it. Her third and final Pokemon was a Cradily, which is a little bit problematic. But Metal Claw does over half health, so just one more. Ooh, low roll. I figured Gardenia will go for the heal, so I Swords Danced, and with one more Metal Claw, take out the Cradily, earning us the second badge. On Route 206 we encountered the Nightmare Fuel Pokemon Mr. Mime, that we fittingly named Nightmare, and in the Wayward Cave we caught a Nidorino we named Nidorook. We also found God.
Hello there.
So, Redemption Arc? In Hearthome City we decided to visit the Church of Arceus, and then with its blessing it was on to fighting Fantina. Fantina opened with a Spheal, and I countered with God Emperor to Swords Dance twice, while Spheal tickled it with water guns. An Oko with a Metal Claw that also gave the boost. Nice. Up next is a Piloswine that lasts about as long as my workouts, and Fantina sends out her final and bulky Lapras. A Metal Claw brings it into Citrus Berry range while it dances for the rain. Another MC brings it to the orange and grants another boost, while Lapras hits with a Water Pulse that luckily doesn't confuse. Being at +6 attack and confuse is a recipe for death. Fantina heals through one Metal Claw until her Lapras is finally taken out, securing our third badge. On Route 210 we had an encounter with one of my favourite Pokemon, a Metagross, that also decided it would rather die than join my team. Damn it! Oh well. Metagross is actually really hard to catch with the same catch rate as a legendary, so at least it wasn't the pre-evolution of my second favourite Pokemon. Oh wait. On Route 214 we encountered an Uxie we named Silencia and taught Light Screen and Reflect in preparation for the 4th badge. Speaking of the 4th badge, it's time to take down Maylene, the Fighting Dragon Dojo leader, who opened with a Bagon. I led with Silencia to set up a Reflect and Yawn while copping a weak headbutt. Finally, a Light Screen would allow for a very safe switch in of my secret weapon, Arson the Celio. Arson took a critical hit headbutt before taking the Bagon down with an Aurora Beam. Her next Pokemon, Dragonair, was taken down to the orange with an Aurora Beam, but not before landing a Dragon Rage that forced a swap into Spike. Spike was able to tank 2 Dragon Rages before taking it out with a stab headbutt. Maylene's last Pokemon was terrifying, a Flygon. With Spike at 30 health, I chose to switch in Silencia to set up a Reflect, which was risky as Feint Attack was in critical hit kill range. With this Reflect, I could switch in Shiny to take a Sonic Boom and deal not great damage with Karate Chop. Shiny manages to get 2 Seismic Tosses off before it's forced to retreat, on just 6 hit points. God Emperor comes out absolutely swinging with a Bubble Beam to finish it off. Weird Maylene didn't heal at this health, but with her poor judgment comes our 4th badge. At Valor Lakefront, we became acquainted with an Espeon we named affectionately Lesbion. And on Route 213, we caught a Flygon we named Beastlygon, for it was truly a beast. And a perfect candidate for the Earthquake TM we had burning a hole in my back pocket. On to the Pastoria Gym and our fight against Crasher Wake, who led with a Bronzong into my Silencia. I opened with Yawn and Light Screen while it used Iron Defense and then Block, meaning Silencia couldn't switch out. And after using Reflect, we found out Confusion barely left a blemish. Then Bronzong used Safeguard, meaning I could no longer put it to sleep. Luckily Bronzong's extrasensory also did very little in return, but this was going to be a slog, lasting more than 3 minutes with in-game speed up.
A few moments later,
I could do nothing but watch as the Bronzong took Silencia's life agonizingly slowly, especially with Crasher displaying absolutely no class and using a Hyper Potion. Silencia managed to land a Yawn before God Emperor took action and finished it off with 2 Brines while it used Safeguard to block the sleep. Rest in peace, Silencia. His next Pokemon was a Claydol that was brought into Citrus Berry range by a Brine while it used Power Trick. It then outsped with Ancient Power but was finished off with a Brine. Crasher's last Pokemon was a Lunatone, which is also weak to water, and a Brine just barely left it alive for it to Rock Polish. I used Aqua Jet hoping Wake didn't have another heal, but alas, this left the Lunatone above half. It used Embargo before a final Brine took it out, securing our 5th badge. We replaced our Fallen Soldier with Lesbion, and then back on infamous Route 210 with the Metagross and the Pupitar we encountered. We then encountered a Manaphy. The RNG gods are really rubbing the salt into that wound. Oh, and a Palkia. Come on, really? Give me a break. In Celestic Town, we were challenged by Cyrus. I'd go into details, but the fight was basically an example of why Lesbion deserved a spot on the team. Our reward is HMO3 Surf, which opens up a boatload of items and encounters, including a Leaf Stone from Floroma Meadow, to later evolve a Flashlight, and a Hoot Hoot we named Bowling Ball. In Canalave, we had our first tough fight with Bazza since Route 101, who opened with a Hitmontop. A Psybeam just barely misses the Oko, while it uses Counter. A Swift finishes it off. Next up was a Heracross at almost half health Lesbion with Takedown, after being put in the red by a Psybeam, taking itself out of the fight. With Blaziken, likely to survive a Psybeam, I switched in Spike for an Intimidate, who got hit by a Blaze Kick for about 1/3 of her health. Spike trades a few headbutts while Blaziken uses Bulk Up and then hits extremely hard with a Blaze Kick, which puts it in a very dangerous spot for our team. I switched to Empoleon to finish it off with an Aqua Jet, but I forgot Fire would hit neutral, so God Emperor is taken down to 42 health. That was close, closer than I would have liked. Next up was Hitmonchan, which meant I had to pull God Emperor out. Shiny takes the Thunder Punch down to just over half health, but follows up with a Karate Chop to bring the Hitmonchan down to just over half health, while copping a big Fire Punch. I misplay here thinking it would survive another punch and go for a Seismic Toss, but Shiny is brought down.
Fatality.
I sent out Lesbion to finish it off, and then Barry sent out his last Pokemon, an absolutely stacked Machamp. That's a problem, considering Espeon doesn't have enough in the tank to take big hits. So I switch in Flygon. Flygon has Fly, which should do a ton of damage, but takes a massive hit from submission on the switch in. Fly doesn't kill, and a Wake Up Slap really hit home how bad that play was. Beastly Gone, more like Fly Gone. At least he brought the Machamp into kill range for the Espeon, but Barry had brutalized my team, arguably taking my best Pokemon. After dusting ourselves off and picking up Pidgey and Nidoruck, the now Nidoking, we were ready to take on Byron. Normally the Steel Trainer, and apparently he's too set in his ways to be randomized. Byron led with his Bastion, and I led with God Emperor right into an Oko Surf. Next up was Caesar, which we didn't really have an answer to, so I kept God Emperor in to surf it, which does good damage while it sets up an Iron Defense. A second surf takes it out, and we are left with, oh god, not again! I can't watch another Pokemon be beaten to death with a big bell. Surf does more than half health while it sets up Iron Defense, so that's the badge. Thank you, Byron. No wonder Baz's stacked team took you down. On Route 216 we picked up a Blaziken we named KFC, and on Route 217 we encountered an Entei. Let's go! Entei used Rock. What? This happens at least once every Nuzlocke. Back in Canalave, we went fishing and managed to find someone's discarded Gabite. This is huge for later when it can evolve into Garchomp, so we named it Garchompme. Snowpoint Gym, we took on the gym leader Ace Trainer Anton, who had an Exeggutor that crit with confusion to take out Pidgey. Wait, that's not the leader? Good Arceus, what's next? Candace. Candace was next, who opened with a Roselia that Flashlight put to sleep after a few turns. Switching out Flashlight for Lesbion, Candace actually withdrew Roselia for Tropius. I took the opportunity to set up the two screens while Tropius tickled with a Body Slam and a Magical Leaf. Psybeam did about half what I wanted it to, and the next Body Slam caused Paralysis. Thank you, Synchronize, for evening the playing field. I switched in Flashlight to spend the next few turns hitting it with Acids while it used Synthesis. We got bored, so we sent in KFC to take it down with two Blaze Kicks after a few misses, except it survived on a sliver and dragged out Empoleon. I used Surf in case she healed again, and took it down finally. With Roselia coming back in awake now due to Natural Cure, we decided to fix that with Flashlight, and then switch in Bowling Ball for her debut battle. Once again, Candace withdrew and sent out Groddle, which fell to 2 Air Slashes after a flinch. Leafeon is taken down with a critical hit Air Slash, and 2 Air Slashes is enough to take down the Roselia after it pedal danced for not a whole lot. With that, our 7th badge was ours. At Lake Acuity, we happened upon a wild Aerodactyl we caught named Delight. This is the second time I think I've ever used an Aerodactyl in a Pokemon game, so I'm pretty hyped to have it. In Galactic HQ, we had our second last fight against Cyrus that went a lot like the others, with a clean sweep. This time KFC was too hot to handle. I have to hand it to the man, he has some fortitude to be beaten by the same young child multiple times and still keep going. On the way to Sky Pillar, we fought a random grunt with a Lairon. I like Lairon. I'll just play my commentary. Stop! Ouch. Bye, Lesbion. Back up at the top of Spear Pillar, now equipped with our very own Nightmare Fuel, we were challenged to a double battle by two of the strongest trainers Team Galactic had to offer. No, not the Commanders. We led with Nightmare and Spike. Nightmare set up Light Screen and Ghastlyly used Destiny Bond. Uh-oh. Spike, stop. Bad girl. No biting. No! The rest of the fight was uneventful. But that hurt the soul. Spike had somehow kept a spot in our team the entire run. In the Distortion world, we had our last fight against Cyrus, who opened with a Sceptile into my Nightmare. I set up a substitute after taking a massive hit from Leaf Blade. This allowed me to set up Reflect and bring in KFC. KFC set up some bulk ups while the Sceptile did very little damage. Blaze Kick then swept the rest of Cyrus's team, but that Sceptile, it scared me. Following finally defeating Cyrus for the last time, we valiantly challenged Giratina and ran away. I think it got the message. With our new level cap, it was time to bring in Garchomp as a perfect replacement for our Spike. And on Route 223, we caught ourselves a Yanma we named Baron. Gym 8 now, and Volkner led with a Scyther into Delight, who opened with missing a few rock slides before finally Okoing the Scyther? Does that count as an Oko? Next up was a Heracross, which was an easy Oko with Fly. Pinsir was next, and that used the Swords Dance while Delight used Fly. This is the problem with multi-turn moves, as Fly fails to kill and a submission takes out Delight. The Pinsir did feint itself though, but at great cost. Another Scyther came in against KFC and was Oko'd with a Blaze Kick, and the 8th badge was ours. In Victory Road, we had our final encounter. You cannot make this up. A Latios. Well, we have a Master Ball, and we're going to name the Latios Memento after another Nuzlocke encounter. No! Finally, we'd arrived in Victory Road, and got our team ready by teaching them a bunch of TMs and removing those bad progression HMs. We started the run with a warm-up fight against Barry. Bazza opened with a Kabutops, and I used Garchomp to set up some Stealth Rocks. Kabutops missed its attack, and a Dig took it out in one hit. Next up was Blaziken, which was another Oko with Dig. It's a shame Garchomp doesn't naturally learn Earthquake, considering that it's on our now dead Flygon. Okay, Rhyperior came out next, which may know Earthquake, so I didn't want to risk the Dig, so I went for a Dragon Claw. It didn't do a whole lot. A critical hit Hammer Arm brings Garchomp well into the yellow. I switch in Flashlight to take a soft Hammer Arm and KO with Giga Drain for 4 times damage, and also restoring itself to full health. Next up was Rampatos, which is a defensively frail Pokemon which goes down to a Leaf Blade. Bazza follows up with a Cradilly that we put to sleep and take out with 2 Sludge Bombs, taking Barry down to his last Pokemon, which is another Rhyperior. So, yeah, last Barry fight, nowhere near as brutal as that Canalave one. At least he didn't have an Aerodactyl to rub salt in that wound. Okay. The first Elite Four member is Aron, who opens with an Aggron. Alright, Steel and Rock types it is. Given that Aron is 4 times weak to ground, I go straight for an Oko with Dig. And Aron follows it up with another Aggron. Are you Steel or Rock? After it protects, we go for a Stealth Rock. Protect is annoying as it can easily block Dig, but luckily it doesn't and is taken out. Aron sends out a Kabutops, and that confirms he is in fact a Rock-type trainer, which also falls to a Dig. Apparently Aron really likes 4 times weaknesses to ground, so he sends out a Probopass for another easy OHKO. Good thing we use Stealth Rock to break Sturdy. Last is Lunatone, and that is OHKO'd with a crunch. Man, fishing and Cannonlave turned out to be very lucrative. Okay, one down. Now it's time for the Ghost Trainer Bertha, who opens with a Misdreavus. I set up Stealth Rocks and switch to Baron after a Perish Song. With Baron I go for Air Slash, that brings it down to half, just for it to counter with a 4 times effective Power Gem, nearly killing Baron. I didn't want to risk the mischance on the Air Slash, so I switched out for Garchomp, while she switched to Frostlass. Considering Garchomp has a 4 times weakness to Ice, I switched in Empoleon to take a Blizzard for chip damage. A Flash Cannon takes out the Frostlass in one hit, and Surf takes out the Misdreavus. Gengar comes out with a weak Shadow Ball to die to a single Surf, and she sends out a Mismagius. We switch in Garchomp for the Crunch KO after it failed to feel Spite? Last but not least is another Mismagius, and you know what they say about fixing working things? Dope. With that OHKO, we are halfway through the Elite Four. Okay, time to fight Flint. Flint leads with a Poliwrath that misses a Hypnosis while we get the rocks up. A Dragon Claw brings it below half health, but it lands a 50% chance Dynamic Punch. This causes a confusion and forces me to switch to Baron for the KO with Air Slash. With an Infernape up next, we now know he's a fighting trainer, and we're forced to switch to Memento. The Infernape does over 1/3 damage with a punishment, so we are in crit range. We go for a risky Luster Purge while it uses Calm Mind that just misses the KO, but gets the defense drop. We burn a heal out of Flint and KO with the next Luster Purge. Next up is Lucario that has Dragon Pulse for some reason. And I completely forgot this, so bye bye Memento. Such a short run on the team. At least you brought it below half health. I respond with KFC and a safe Brick Break that gets the KO after taking a lot of damage from Aurasphere. Last up is a Machamp that's incredibly bulky, so I switch to Flashlight as it misses its Dynamic Punch. After a few turns, a critical hit Leaf Blade takes it out after a full restore. Last up is a Poliwrath. That's an easy KO with a few Leaf Blades after it uses Mind Reader, securing our 3rd Elite Four victory. That's 3 members down and 1 to go. But I'm now down to 5 Pokemon, which is going to suck for the champion fight. Now fighting Lucian, who took a page out of Aaron's old playbook and opened with a Vespiquen, Garchomp opened with a Stealth Rock and was hit by a Swagger, forcing a switch to Baron. Attack Order hits like a limp noodle, and Baron's Air Slash almost KOs and causes a flinch. Lucian heals and is brought down to the same health before he switches out for Aerodactyl that cops the Air Slash to less than half health. Unfortunately, Aerodactyl will outspeed, so I switch to God Emperor, who takes a weak but stat-boosting Ancient Power. Takedown does a little bit of damage before Surf finishes it off. Staraptor comes out next with Intimidate, and takes a quarter health from the Stealth Rocks. Since it has close combat, I switch to Garchomp to tank the hit, which lowers Staraptor's defenses. Staraptor outspeeds and hits the critical hit Brave Bird for the KO on Garchomp. The recoil brings it just above half health. I send out Baron to KO with Air Slash expecting to easily outspeed, but it's faster and KOs with Brave Bird again, bringing its health just below half after a Citrus Berry. Blaziken up next, and is taken out with a Brave Bird, bringing the Staraptor into the red. We send out Flashlight to die and hopefully take this overgrown chicken down with it. With all that is left is God Emperor to take down the remaining 3 Pokemon. Xadu is taken out with an Ice Beam after setting up a Future Sight. The next Xadu is taken down with another Ice Beam after tickling with an Ominous Wind. And from the grave, Garchomp takes out the Vespiquen with Stealth Rock damage. With a massive cost to the party, we were ready to take on the champion. 1 Pokemon against 6. We have no setup moves, and as much coverage as we can get, so I scramble through my bag, use all of the performance-enhancing drugs I can find, and then challenge Cynthia. I hope that she has anything except for Electric, Fighting, Grass, Ground, and Ghost. Ghost has moves that could end the run immediately, like Curse, Destiny Bond, or Perish Song. And of course it's Ghost. Ah! Okay, Dusclops is manageable, One Surf puts it down to under half health. A Shadow Punch does chip damage, and a second Surf takes it down. 1 down, 5 to go. Okay, another Dusclops. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. 2 Surfs for the KO with a weak Shadow Punch. Now a Dusknoir. Same tactic with a slightly harder hitting Shadow Punch. We're actually doing it! We're halfway through the champion! Pressure is really hurting my PP though. Another Dusknoir. There won't be any PP left. Also mean look, Cynthia! I have nothing to swap with, what are you doing? I switched to Flash Cannon to take it down, which has a really long animation for some reason. Another Dusknoir? What the hell is this randomizer doing? Okay, this time I'll open with a Flash Cannon. She wastes another turn using Mean Look, and Surf just misses the KO and puts it in Citrus Berry range. A Flash Cannon takes it down. There's 1 left. And it's a Spirit Tomb. That's kind of ironic. Is this even randomized? It also has pressure. Flash Cannon while it nasty plots, oh god, kill it with water now, and our final Surf takes it down. And with that, the game is complete. We beat Cynthia, albeit with extreme luck on her team composition, with a single Empoleon, with no super effective moves. God Emperor indeed. Let us thank the fallen soldiers that made the E4 possible. First and foremost, the lone survivor, God Emperor. Flashlight the Victory Bell, fished out of Route 218. Garchomp the Garchomp, fished out of the Canalave Canal. Memento the Latios, from Victory Road. KFC the Blaziken, from Route 216. And Baron the Yanmega, from Route 223. I hope you enjoyed watching it as much as I did making it. I had an absolute blast, and I can't believe it's the first attempt, and that we got through the champion with just 1 Pokemon. I will be doing more Pokemon challenges in the future, so please consider liking and subscribing as it really helps the channel grow. If you think of anything I could improve in my Pokemon play or video editing, please leave a comment down below. Feedback always helps, and as always, thanks for watching.